Thank you very much for joining us. We are here at the EYGCC Conclave in Bengaluru, and today is a special day as we launch our intelligent GCC solution, which is built on the strong foundation of EY.AI, coupled with years of experience that we've gained running hundreds and thousands of engagements across GCCs in the country. This solution is based on four broad themes: realize, reimagine, reskill, and regulate. Realize builds on our hugely popular capability center as a service solution and makes it far more intelligent and efficient through the use of agentic AI. While Reimagine looks at outcomes as a service where we focus much more on business outcomes rather than the traditional FT models that we have in the past. Reskill is all about retraining and reskilling your workforce. And this is again built on our very robust AI Academy platform, and is going to help you retrain your workforce for the AI era. And then finally, regulate. Regulate is taking our EY.AI foundation, coupling that with the strong regulatory frameworks we have to make your GCC far more scalable, secure, and compliant. And to continue this conversation, I have with me Vijay Shankar. Vijay has spent many years in the GCC world. He leads our business consulting and the AI practice for GCCs at EY India. And he's going to talk to us not only about the solution we launched today, but also about the GCC ecosystem at large. So Vijay, welcome, and thank you very much for joining me on this conversation. So Vijay, let me start with your perception regarding the current operating models in which the GCCs operate. What, according to you, are some of the limitations with those models today?
If I really see what's really different now, first, GCCs are largely more people dependent, which means scaling means hiring more people. Attrition means retraining. There's a lot of hidden cost associated with it, which is not really seen before. Second, they are more process dependent. GCCs do optimize processes, but they don't fundamentally change the way the processes are being executed through platforms. Third, when you really look at operations, finance, HR, or even supply chain and so on, you operate in silos. You don't really run end to end, and therefore enterprise value gets reduced as well. So finally, the level of manual interventions across the GCC operations is enormous, and therefore there's lack of agility and operational excellence in that regard. So the way we see it now, from an intelligent GCC, will be more AI native by design, and therefore you're able to drive platforms at scale and drive enterprise value for the organization.
Yeah, so I think what you are effectively saying is that, look, today's model is very human intensive. More work means more people. You keep on hiring, you keep on hiring. I think the problem, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that this model A is not infinitely scalable, right? At some point, it will plateau out, right? And there's so much talk about GCC hiring. And I think the other big problem also is that this model is easily replicable anywhere else in the world. To hire and, build out buildings and infrastructure is not really a game changer. So, which is why, and in our introduction, we talked about the intelligent GCC solution we are bringing. Now, talk to us a little bit about the highlights that you see out of that. Why are we doing this right now? Because you just mentioned, and I think you touched upon that, the fact that there is need for change. But if you have to build a little more on that, I think the one that everyone should be particularly interested in is the change in the mindset that is required for us to have a sustainable ecosystem for many years to come, right? So what are some of those things that you are thinking about as you go about designing the solution for our clients?
So if you really look at it, I mean, it's principled around AI native by design. So what it really means, one, it's autonomous.
Right.
So that means you're running operations in a touchless manner. Second, outcome driven. It's not building capability from a people standpoint, but driving outcomes from an enterprise value standpoint. And third is modernizing workplace, right? In terms of talent that is there. And I think how do you really bring the talent ready in the AI era is going to be important. So we see all of these capabilities coming together to defining what the next stages of GCCs will be. Now, if the GCCs do this really very well, I don't think it will just kind of set the pace in the global scale, but actually be the benchmark in the way GCCs will operate for the enterprises.
Good. So I think the point you make it's basically humans are not going away. I think they're going to be augmented with agents, right? If we may call that. Now, Vijay, you already have embarked on that journey. You're leading our go-to-market from an AI perspective for GCCs. Are you seeing a lot of interest coming from GCCs today around agentic AI?
Absolutely, Arindam. But I think what's important is what we are doing for our own center and operation. So we've got about 1,000 agents who are already executing operations for our own back office processes, which now we are taking to clients as well. But if I really see client conversations, I think there's a lot of uptick on conversations on how you can use agents, not just at process automation level, but how do you really reimagine end to end? Can you take an entire order to cash process and then have agents being executing? Because that's the real value in the way operations are being done. So yes, if you really say what we are seeing from clients, increased uptick of requirements across various areas, both on the automation and building intelligence into processes from an execution standpoint.
Which I think is also augmented with the fact that we are releasing our pulse survey that we do every year, and I think over 50 to 60% of the GCCs that participated in the surveys have moved out of POC stages of AI
Yeah.
and experimentation and now really moving into execution, right? Maybe one more interesting discussion point around that, and I'm sure people who are listening in will find it interesting given your experience. You've come from the world of automation. We are now in the world of AI. What would you say are because AI is being vilified as well by a lot
Yeah.
of people, right? From an ethics standpoint, from the dark side of AI. What are some of the fundamental differences between what you saw at the automation era and now in the agentic era?
No, fantastic. See, I think when the automation era, it was all about task automations. How can you take, mundane, repeatable task that humans didn't want to perform, give it to automation and let them execute that. But in the AI era, in the agentic era, it's just not about task automation. It's about execution of the process end to end. So therefore, when you start looking at it from that lens, there's a big shift in the way that clients are adopting and how automations can be scaled with the use of AI. Let me give you an example, right? One of our clients that we've been working back with, they've been running hundreds and thousands of bots, which is just task automations. But when they go into the agentic era, a lot of these automations are not relevant anymore because you're able to have agents not only act but also think and rewire processes in execution. So it's a fundamental shift, and I think GCCs are the backbone of how the enterprise operations are being run. So therefore, that's the right place to start to drive these.
So,
these
I mean,
conversion.
again, in a nutshell, what you've effectively told me is we've gone to a far more intelligent framework that is capable of thinking, reinventing itself. And who knows, in some years, making decisions as well. Right now, decisions are kept to humans. We don't know what will happen in the next 5-10 years, given how the tech is evolving rapidly. So maybe one final point on this, Vijay, and we are here at the Conclave in Bangalore, as I just mentioned. I think we're going to have a lot of interesting discussions on this, and it'll be interesting to see what comes out of that 3.5 hours from now. But what are some of the takeaways that you would want to leave our viewers with, specifically on our intelligent GCC solution, but more importantly, the fact that we've invested as EY quite a bit on AI. We've got some really, really robust solutions and frameworks in place. What would those one or two things be that you want to leave them with?
I think GCC leaders are in a inflection point, right? I mean, the way that the definition of how this will be in the next 2-3 years or even 5 to 10 years will be defined by the decisions that the GCC leaders will do. So I would definitely request all of the GCC leaders to redefine what their capabilities will look like in 3 to 5 years journey, and then redefine this from an AI native, design principles. If they really do that, then there's value for enterprise and be able to drive a lot more operational efficiency as well. So for us, we are super excited with that change. We've been in the GCC industry for the last 2 decades. We've seen all of those changes from just being labor to operational excellence to other arbitrages that have come in. But this next stage is really exciting for us. I think our ability to bring AI and operational excellence together, I think there's a lot more value that we can unlock.
No, I think that's fantastic. Thank you so much, Vijay, for joining me. And for those joining us, thank you very much for listening in. We are, look, at a very interesting point and an inflection point, I would say, as far as the GCC ecosystem is concerned. We started off with captives, moved to GICs, moved to GCCs. I think what's going to be important is how this ecosystem shapes up in the next 5 years as we move to something far more intelligent. And look, we don't have all the answers, but we are at least aspiring to provide you and other GCC leaders with all the help you need to establish the next intelligent GCC. Thank you again for listening in, and we will be shortly back with many more conversations on this topic. Thank you.